Hello, welcome to Andre Darius, and today I wanted to talk about why the MCU Spider-Man Tom Holland is my least favorite and why he just doesn't work for me. Now, of course, this is nothing against Tom Holland himself. I really like him as an actor. He's a great actor, but it's just the way how he's written and just the way how the filmmakers are portraying Spider-Man in the MCU. I'm not really a fan of it, and in this video I'd like to share to you why. So let's begin. Of course, if you see me like looking this way, I have my notes over here to keep me on track so the video doesn't have to be longer than it has to be. So let's get started. Reason number one why I'm not a fan of MCU Spider-Man is he's too reliant on technology, slash they gave him technology too fast, slash they shouldn't just give him stuff to make his job easier. Now, for this one, I had 3 points that I wanted to make, but they were kind of similar to each other, so I just kind of crushed them all into the same one. And my reasoning for this is how we're introduced to Spider-Man in the MCU. At first we see him using I think it was like a makeshift like black suit, no, like a really bad suit, and then Tony gives him the AI suit that we see him use in Captain America Civil War, like the suit with the AI thing in his head. And I really didn't like that because I don't know, it just like it felt too early to give him technology. Like I've never really seen Spider-Man using well, of course we've seen him use like the Iron Spider suit in the past, like in previous cartoons and stuff like that. We've seen him use a bunch of different suits. I think I'll just let this car pass. Like I was saying, we've seen him use multiple suits in the shows, but it always took a while for him to get there, to get those suits, because it was like well, not like he had to earn them or anything. It just like he just had to grow. He had to not like even, I don't know, he had to grow as a character. He had to become like a good Spider-Man first. Like he always had time in just the normal spandex, like just normal suit, the normal red blue suit, before going in like right into AI. And just them giving him that, which I understand, like this Spider-Man has higher stakes and whatever, but just them giving him like technology so early on, giving him these multiple suits early on to use with like well, of course, like by the time we see him, he's been Spider-Man for like a year or something, but for us, of course, he's this new character when we see him in Civil War and even in Spider-Man Homecoming. So to just see them give him these AI suits, like the Iron Spider, he gets that in, what was it? Infinity War, I think. Wait, or was it in Homecoming? Anyway, whatever. Like he gets it really early, and it just feels like it wasn't earned. It feels like it just makes his job easier when Spider-Man as a character, like a big part of his character is to be relatable. He's supposed to be like the most normal guy on the team, which will lead to something later that I'll talk about, whatever. Anyway, he's supposed to be, well, I mean, like he doesn't have to always be relatable depending on how people want to portray him, but like just look at any incarnation of Spider-Man ever, and there's always a relatable side to him. There's always a side, like that's why he's such a big character, because he's so relatable. And giving him these like special abilities and stuff like that, like the Iron Spider suit, it's just like kind of like cheating, because like they like, I don't know, it just kind of like even like takes the whole spider sense thing out of it, and it can just like detect everything around him and just protect him and stuff. Anyway, I don't really like how they gave him technology so early. I don't have a problem with the technology itself. It's just that he doesn't really prove himself. He doesn't really like deserve it yet. Like he just kind of gets it, and now it's just easier for him to do his job when a lot of Spider-Man's likability comes from him being very relatable, comes from him just like figuring stuff out, which will also go into another point that I'm about to make later. So let's move on. My second reason as to why I don't like the Tom Holland Spider-Man is too much mentoring to the point where his character comes off as weak and needy. This is the biggest problem you will hear when you hear people bring up their problems with the Tom Holland Spider-Man. It's just the MCU setting him up to have like mentors. First it was Tony Stark, and now it's looking to be Doctor Strange in Spider-Man. What was it called? No Way Home or something like that. Whatever. And the problem with this is that like Spider-Man's another part of his appeal is that he's alone a lot. Like a lot of his best stories are just of him being alone, figuring stuff out by himself. Just him and Aunt May, like he's working this separate job at the Daily Bugle, and he's just kind of figuring stuff out as he goes along as Spider-Man, since everything is new to him and he has this whole city to protect. And just seeing him figure that stuff out, just like I don't want to say too much because that goes into something later. Anyway, just him figuring stuff out for himself made him such a good character, such a relatable character to so many, and to just see him like have mentors and to want to be in like team ups and stuff like that, which like he's one of like he's known for his like team ups with like the Super Friends, and he's been with the Avengers many times, the Avengers, and he's been offered spots on like pretty much every team in the like every main team in the Marvel universe. If you look at the comics and even some of the cartoon shows, but if you pay attention very closely, like he almost always puts them down. Well, not like he always refuses the offer to join a team because he goes solo because he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, but that never comes up here. He's so willing to join teams. It's just like, oh, it just makes his character come off as so dependent on all these other people, when a big part of his character is him being solo, and only, of course, like a big part of his character is figuring stuff out for himself, as I said before, and but of course, being like reliable and asking for help when he needs it. But if he can do it by himself, he'll do it by himself. But in here, like, we just always see him running to Tony, or running or just leaning on these other characters, and just, I don't know, it just all happened too fast. Like, he doesn't need to be mentored. Like, Spider-Man as a character doesn't need to be mentored. He just needs to learn and figure stuff out. Not exactly by himself, but like there's some level of independence involved. Like, that's another part of what made him such a relatable character. So just the way how they're portraying him in the MCU, being like so up under the Avengers and Tony Stark when he was around. Like, I don't know, that just really rubbed me the wrong way, or something like that. Whatever. That just rubbed me the wrong way. So I didn't really like that about him. My third problem with Tom Holland's Peter Parker is, or Spider-Man, whatever, his intellect isn't a big enough part of his character, and he comes off as more classically nerdy than actually smart. Another like relatable part of Peter Parker and Spider-Man is his smarts, like just the way how he figures out problems. Like, a lot of the best stories in the comics is just him like swinging around, basically having conversations with himself, like solving mysteries, figuring out like where Mysterio is, figuring out where Doc Ock is. All of these great things, like these just like simple things, just him figuring stuff out to save the day, made him such a relatable and such a good character. But here, just the way how everything is delivered to him, and just the way like how his character acts, like he's kind of quirky, but he's more of a classical nerd character. Like they're not really like, his smarts aren't shown enough to like say, yeah, he built this web shooter. I don't know, it's just like his smarts are taking a background to the more cliche, generic sort of nerd character that we've seen in a bunch of different Hollywood movies in the past, where we don't see them do like any actual science or anything. We just kind of see them there doing what classic Hollywood nerds do. So that's another thing that I didn't like about his character, how they kind of pushed his smarts to the background, his problem solving skills, and just having him like lean on these other characters, or just like making a bunch of dumb decisions. Which brings, well, not yet though. That's for later. My fourth problem with the MCU Spider-Man is his character feels at least a bit underdeveloped. Now, with Spider-Man No Way Home coming out around Christmas, and we've seen Tom Holland's Spider-Man like about, what is it, like 5 times now? 5 times now, starting with Captain America Civil War. I think it's been about five times now. But what I still feel as if we don't really know who, who Tom Holland's Peter Parker is, or what kind of makes him so special, right? Because like you could point to stuff with like the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield characters and like kind of figure them out just from 1 or 2 movies, but with 5 movies here, which like, just, you know, to be fair, like he's only had like 2 solo movies, but I don't think those movies did a great job of really developing his character. Like the whole Endgame thing with him getting like basically erased and then coming back in Endgame, and then like basically having to do over high school, or his last year of high school in Spider-Man Far From Home. That just kind of like gave them a reason to keep him as a teenager, which I did not really like, because like he feels underdeveloped. It just feels like the writers are rushing him to fight these major level threats when he's not ready to face them. All right, because like his character hasn't really changed that much. Because like with this upcoming movie, like I'd really like to see if his character changed and learned from the stuff that he faced in Homecoming and in Far From Home. Because like the between Homecoming and Far From Home, where he like was literally erased from history and then comes back, it didn't seem like his character changed much. It didn't seem like his character grew much. Especially, which leads us into my fifth and final problem with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and that is the dumb choice of having Peter Parker give Mysterio Tony Stark's glasses. With great power comes great responsibility. Okay, that was the one thing Uncle Ben did. Like just that, like that. That's the one thing he's known for. That's the one thing people say all the time. But that's the one thing. Well, not the one thing Peter got wrong, but the one thing like he just shouldn't have messed up. That was just such a dumb decision to like make him give Mysterio, some guy he met just like less than a week ago, just give him like Tony Stark's present to him of these like powerful drones and stuff. I don't know, that in particular just didn't sit well with me. It didn't seem right, even to which it does play into his character being needy, like for mentorship and stuff like that, like I said before. But here, like this is just a whole other level of needy. This is a whole other level of just giving up responsibility. I mean, like it's right in the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. He was given great power and just gave it away to someone who he barely even knows, who like doesn't even really know apart from his superhero persona. And that just didn't sit well with me. It just seemed way too dumb, even for Tom Holland's Peter Parker, which I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm just saying, like, you know, I don't know. Like, it just didn't rub me. It just rubbed me the wrong way. Like, that was just such a dumb decision to make. It just did not sit right with, like see, it still bothers me to this day. Like, it just didn't make sense at all. And that was it. Basically, my 5 reasons as to why I think he is the worst portrayal of Spider-Man. I don't like you might have seen people around the internet calling him Iron Boy, which I think is unfortunately very valid. Since they're pretty much setting him up to be like the next Tony Stark or something, with how they're giving him control of all this stuff and giving him all this technology. But oh, just for these reasons that I just named, I just don't have a good feeling about his character. Like, of course, I like Tom Holland as an actor. I think he does good with the material that he's being given, but the material that he's being given, the writing and just the way how he's acting, like all quirky, sort of nerdy kind of stuff. Like, it just didn't really sit well with me as a Peter Parker. He doesn't feel like a Peter Parker, because Peter Parker, a good part of his character is that he just keeps growing. He keeps getting better and better at not just at being Spider-Man, just being a better person like that. Like, you just constantly seeing him growing, and I don't see Tom Holland's character growing much, like over these 5 movies. Of course, I guess you could say two, since he's only had 2 solo movies, but basically 5 or 4 movies. His character didn't grow much. He's still that like classically nerdy kid in the class. Just that he's Spider-Man on the side. And I just don't think it balances out well. I don't really buy him as a good portrayal of Spider-Man or a good Peter Parker. And those are basically my thoughts. So hopefully I got those 5 points across really well. Hopefully you all understand what I meant by them. And of course, these are just my opinion. If you like him, I see a lot of people think he's like the best balance between a Peter Parker and a Spider-Man, and I totally see where they're coming from. I respect that, but I just do not agree. So that's about it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll have another video up. Sorry about the dog in the background. I have another video up talking about my other problems about the MCU, which has to do with some more Spider-Man stuff, but since it doesn't involve Tom specifically, then I'll just save that for that video. So check that out when it releases. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Andre Darius. You can also follow my backup channel, Darius II. And see you all next time. Goodbye.